Well, good morning, boys and girls. Nice cold Monday morning here, and I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Everybody made it back home safe if you were traveling and all that good stuff. We were a little bit sick around here, so I'm still a little bit stuffed up, so just gonna have to bear with me this morning. Um, gonna do things a little bit differently here this morning. Dog's doing his thing that dogs do, I guess. Anyway, going to do things a little bit differently here this morning. If you haven't joined me before, I'm Dan, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Do several things on this channel. This little Fleabay edition is one of them, and it's kind of what I'm going to concentrate on this morning, of course. But some of the other things I do is we do quite a bit of machining stuff. We do a lot of casting stuff, and we're working on an airplane project is normally what I show here. So this Fleabay edition thing has become kind of popular with some guys, and I think it is somewhat informative. And since I go through these anyway on Atlas parts primarily, it's kind of become a thing, and we just share what we find at least once a week usually here. They're fairly quick and easy for me to do, so we go through and do these and do a fairly quick edit on them and get them out there, and hopefully it gives you some information if you're shopping for parts. Brings about what I look for when I'm going through these, what I look for at sellers and when I'm looking for parts. Now, if you followed me, you know I'm not for parting out machines at all. I think we're tearing down history. It quite frankly just pisses me off because everything has value as far as the Atlas machine tools, and once they're gone, basically they're gone unless we're building reproductions, which I keep adding more and more reproductions, and we're currently working on projects all the time for those, even somewhat slowly. All of these machine tool parts have value for the Atlas machines. So the stuff that they're parting out, even though I don't like it, they do have some value, but they are extremely overvalued here on Fleabay most of the time. Um, and it comes down to how the sellers sell them. And my history on Fleabay is I used to sell on eBay, and I still get inquiries of if I do because they can get better shipping that way and stuff. I do not sell on Fleabay. I did that years ago. I did quite a few reproduction manuals. Um, Other sellers found that they could buy my reproductions, which I scanned in, cleaned up, and reproduced. They could buy my cleaned up reproductions, go back and copy them or rescan them, and with little or no work, they could reproduce those reproductions. And they went as far as to be stealing my listings, my wording and everything. So there was a little bit of a row over that years and years ago, so we just quit. And there's several Fleabay policies that I don't agree with, don't like, so I don't sell there. So I will occasionally buy stuff. I look at stuff all the time. But anyway, when you're shopping for machine tool parts, and I concentrate on the Atlas stuff, on the Atlas 10-inch lathes, the mills, the shapers, the 6-inch lathe a little bit. And that's where my primary focus is for what I review on this channels. Um, Kind of what I look for is the same things you should be looking for when you're buying this stuff, and you need to be informed. You don't need to jump on some of this stuff because it's there and it might be gone, because there's probably going to be another one come along, and if you're jumping on it right away, chances are you're giving too much money because these guys are charging too much on this stuff, or trying to charge too much. I think we're driving these prices down a little bit. I see some stuff from some sellers that would just really rip you off, basically, if they could. And I think we're slowing that down a little bit. And my goal, and I said it here a couple of videos ago, is to make it to where they're not worth selling. They're not worth parting out these machines. I want to destroy this market to the point where they're a reasonable priced part again. Atlas originally designed these to be able to be affordable by the average homeowner or the home shop guy, to put these machines in his garage. So there's a cult following that continues to drive these prices up, but there's other alternatives and there's better options, and we're going to look at some of these. And one of the things I look at is these sellers. And when I look at a seller, I will kind of look at their feedback, but that doesn't tell you anything. the majority of these sellers have 100% feedback, or maybe just under that, and they've sold thousands of items. Well, a lot of times they're you're leaving 100 or a good feedback for them, even if you've had a bad experience, because maybe they're going to have something else come along that you want to buy that you actually need or can get at a good buy, and you don't want to spoil that relationship with a seller that may have already cheated you once. So I guess I'm kind of rambling, but let's just go on and look at some of this stuff, because there's not a whole lot of new stuff. I looked at some of this stuff yesterday. When you look at this stuff, I urge you to look at the sellers, look at how much feedback they've got, look at the pictures very closely, and look at how they're selling them. Now, for the longest time, and you still see it, but not nearly as much, why these listings would say excellent, whatever it was, excellent condition. These Atlas machines are 40, 50, 60 years old. They're not in excellent condition. They're used condition. We're seeing a lot of stuff that's new old stock, supposedly. Well, if it's new old stock, they're getting it from if it's new stock, they're getting it from somebody. And Closing's still in business. I urge you to shoot them an email or give them a call and find out if they're actually producing those parts. And most times you can get them cheaper directly from Closing than you can from screwing around with this here on Fleabay. So let's just go in and start to look at some of these things, and I'll tell you what I look at. Now, I've expanded my search over the last few weeks, just because I was missing some stuff that was listed in antiques and collectibles or something like that. These are not collectible machines. These are functional, usable machines. So if you're buying them as a collectible, they're trying to get collectible money out of them, and they're not worth that. So one of the things right off the bat here, Atlas Craftsman lathe shaper mill cast iron leg set, ships freight, post, or pickup. $550 buy it now, or plus $117.10 shipping. Now, this is from a seller that I have a real problem with. He really will misrepresent stuff or just flat out lie about the parts, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. When I point this stuff out, I urge you to go in and look at this. Kind of remember these sellers in your mind and watch them and see how they're selling, what they're selling, and how they're pricing stuff, because it'll give you a good indication of if they're a seller that you really want to buy from. It gives you a good idea about how honest they are and the integrity with which they will sell you parts. So this is cast iron. This is the standard shaper legs, or Atlas legs. They're all the same, basically. So yeah, and it all says Atlas Craftsman lathe shaper mill cast iron leg set, ships freight, post, or pickup. This is actually for the lathe. We'll look at the big pictures here very quickly. It's got a set of casters underneath, which I think he says one of the casters is broken, so he will ship them, but whatever. Anyway, these legs are all the same, with the exception of I'm not sure if on the shaper in the mill, if they used just the tailstock end of the legs and did two of those, or if they used a set like this. The only difference is on the headstock end on the lathe, they've got a boss to mount a bracket that the countershaft assembly bolts to. Standard leg set. Later on it shows the length of these, which I think are the length of the boards, which I believe are 42 inches. Width is all the same, thickness is all the same on these, height is all the same. The only difference is the length of the boards that go on here. This one's a 45. I believe this will be for a 42-inch lathe. I believe 42-inch bed length lathe. But you can verify that quite easily. Height is all the same. Now these two holes that are on the front of this, and we're looking at the front side of this, these were added later. I don't believe these were ever done by Atlas. Somebody's probably had some sort of a bracket on there, whether, who knows what they were holding. But that is not original to them, I don't believe. Here on the back side, you can see this little triangular mounting boss. This is where the bracket bolted on it was another bracket in the countershaft assembly bolted it. So otherwise, these leg sets have always gone for about $400. And then they wanted shipping. In my opinion, they're worth $250. is about all they're worth. You know, you might stretch them to $3. I would not pay more than $3.50 in the door if I were buying a set of these legs. And when it comes right down to it, I don't have a set of these legs, and it's because I won't even give $250 or $300 for them. So I watched a lot of these over the years. They're worth $400. They're not worth $550. You know, in the door, $350 or $400. These they're wanting $550 and another $120 to $675 basically to ship this set of legs into your door. That's about twice what they're worth. No, maybe not quite twice, but anyway, that's way too high. So, and this is a seller I've watched a long time. He's got, doesn't have 100% feedback, but he's got pretty close to it. Several thousand feedbacks, and with that much positive feedback, and that many, you know, it doesn't, the math's not there. This is a seller I avoid at all costs. I would not, he could have something at a good buy and I would not purchase it. I'm quickly going down through here. Here's a 1949 print ad of Atlas 7-inch Shaper Model 7B. Now, I normally don't look at these at all. This is listed under collectibles, advertising collectibles. They're wanting $8 for it. Was $9.99, save 23% off, $230, $7.69, and $4.49 shipping. Rolled into a tube. I'm not going to go down and read the description. This is somebody that's been doing this an awful lot. I did look, and there's several other ads for Atlas stuff exactly like this. When you zoom in on the picture of the ad, well, I've got the picture of the ad up there. Let's zoom in on this. This is just a one-page ad, and when you go up this, the caption on top's page 468, Stoger Arms Corporation. And it gives the address and everything. All this is this was a Stoger Arms catalog, you know, that had almost 500 pages, or at least 468 pages, and this is one sheet that's been pulled out of that catalog that he's trying to get $8 for. Don't waste your money on this crap. You know, there's some interesting stuff. Literature's always been a big thing. For the longest time I collected literature like crazy because I did a lot of reproduction manuals and things. And there again, I can still provide manuals for quite a bit of stuff. I've not put them back up on the website. I've not cataloged them. At some point, as I have time, maybe over the winter, we'll get more of that done. But anyway, this is just a one-page ad. He's trying to get $8 out of a catalog that he found someplace. As I looked at the seller and I looked at related items down at the bottom, why there's several other ads for Atlas things that came out of this same Stoger catalog. So these are a waste of money. They're good for informational purposes, but the same information is available on websites like vintagemachinery.org for free. You know, you can go to vintagemachinery.org. There's been quite a few uploads there. He keeps a pretty good repository. Lay's UK has quite a library of machine tool documentation. So all of this stuff is readily available. Most of these are available from on the Atlas lists. You know, their groups IO is now where the Atlas stuff resides. So used to be on Yahoo. So you can find the same information for free, usually better quality than these are. And you know, I've still got several original catalogs that I use as references here at my desk. And I do refer to those quite a bit. It's nice to have those, but the reality is, for the money invested in them, you're better off just to go in online and download them and print them out. So that's with those. I don't think there was really anything else under shapers here that we hadn't already looked at. Yeah, here's somebody's got a 1937 Atlas shop equipment lathe, drill press, arbor press, shapers catalog number 28. $25 or best offer. And I suppose we could look at this one very quickly. I don't think there's nothing else down here under shapers that we haven't looked at. These are nice little reference catalogs. This one has the original order sheet that would have come with it. I'll just look at the big pictures very quickly. They originally came with a order sheet, and Atlas's budget plan. It's kind of cool to look at these just because it shows what they sold for when they were new. So these were they're an interesting reference. Like I say, I do use those. Are they really worth doing? Probably not. There's no, manual lathe operations. $1. That's what we paid for them. Now they're about 30. This is just a general line catalog. It shows all of them. All of these show, there's some interesting pages that you see, like this of the the front of the, probably this is, yeah, it's Atlas Press Company's building, wherever they were at the time. It's interesting to see those because it's part of history going along. Unlike this picture of the Shaper, this is an early Model 7 because it's not the 7B, it doesn't have the foot underneath and the solid bed. So earlier catalog, but is it worth spending the $25 to do it? If it interests you enough, then yeah, it probably is, but I very rarely will bite on stuff like this. I don't know that I think the investment can be better spent other places. Anyway, so that's all we see under Shapers. Let's go to Atlas Mills. Here's a new listing for a milling attachment. I won't go and look at it. Pre-owned, $375 and $25 shipping, $400. No, it's worth about half of that. In your door, $250 probably. Now, there's a couple of items right here, one after the other. And this first one is the arbor support for the milling machine. This is an M160 arbor support. This is from a seller that does both some used and some reproduction parts. And the reproduction part that really sticks in my mind at this point in time is the vice jaws for the milling attachment, which are the same vice jaws. He wanted like $40. I think I reproduce a set of them in aluminum, which is the same as he does. And I think mine are $10 type of thing, which a lot of those I have done just to kick those prices down. Do I make much money at $10? No, I really don't. I make a little bit. And it's probably a little bit more than a break-even point for me. I probably make a couple of bucks or something. But it's to help drive these prices down. So anyway, this is the arbor support. It's in okay condition, good used condition is the way he rates it. We're back to the same old thing. It's a casting as far as I'm concerned. It's worth $60, $70, probably less than half. So pays your money, takes your chances. The only thing that has any value beyond it being regular casting is the guy that gets oiler. As I said before, these bushings are gone. You're gonna have to replace those, which is not a big deal, but it's a less than $10 expense to replace those. But you're not buying anything worth having when they include the bushings. My outlook on this is any wearable component that is being offered by itself, like bushings. A lot of times you'll see bushings, lead screws, anything used like that is not worth buying. It's already wore out, so there's no sense in spending the money on it. So is this worth $159? No, it's worth $60. $60 and $10 shipping should get it in your door. Right below it is a original Atlas milling machine, M1 560 cutter arbor, 7/8 good used as shown. This is from the same seller, and I believe this to be misleading at best. And you can tell if you start looking at these and watch them follow along enough, you're going to know. This says used original Atlas milling machine, 7/8 cutter arbor as shown. I don't believe it is. And let's just, well, there's only two pictures here. Let's not zoom in on, or let's just zoom in on them. Let's not look at the big pictures, because we can get a better indication. Now, when we look at these spacers, a lot of those are shop turn spacers, which is fine. I mean, as long as they're square to the world, that's all that matters. But they've got a fair amount of patina on them. You've got, you can tell those are shop turned. They're all chewed up. We got turning marks, grab marks and stuff. When we look at the arbor itself, we can see, if we look down in the keyway, you can see it looks there's a little bit of patina there, a little bit discolored and everything. Same way on that drive dog, it's a little bit done. When you look at the rest of this arbor, like when you look at this end, that's an awful clean arbor for it being 30, 40 years old. When you look at where the drive dog's engaged, that's not rolled any. That's not, that looks to be pretty darn clean there. And the arbor where you can see it itself, that looks to be pretty clean for being 30, 40 years old. We're not seeing any markings there. We're not seeing any staining. We're not seeing anything there. And that is not an original nut. And he has offered these nuts in the past, I do believe. And I've built these nuts too. I don't know that I've got them listed on the website, but I've got a stock of these nuts here too. So replacement nut, I do not believe that's an original nut. There's too many. You look at the sides of that, there's no wrench marks. There's nothing wrong with that nut. It looks to be newly manufactured. What I believe this is, and here's that end of it. See, even where it rides in the bushing and the arbor support, that looks awful good to be 30, 40 years old. So, and there on that nut, you can still see the striations and the markings that you would have seen from that hex stock that those were turned out of. What I believe this is, you see down in the keyway, you see a little bit, but it looks too good to have even been cleaned up and polished. What I believe this is I believe this is a shop manufactured arbor that has been kicked around. I believe it is used, but it's in awful good condition for being a original used arbor. So I don't believe it is. And there again, you look at the spacers, look at the patina, the rust on there, the markings on there. I would expect that to match the arbor. So I believe this is a misleading listing to say the least. And there again, when you look at the seller's feedback, he's got a tremendous amount of feedback, and he's got pretty close to 100% positive feedback. So you can tell what these sellers are doing after a while. We go on down, there's some brand new OEM Atlas Craftsman lathe 10-500 milling attachment vice clamp bolts, $15 and $5 shipping. These are a square-headed screw. I don't remember if these are 3/8 diameter or 5/16, but these are new ones. Now this is from a seller that I've seen before. He's got quite a bit of feedback, and it's 100% feedback. When we look at these, and if we zoom in on them, I believe these are probably a Japanese import. You look at the heads on those do not match at all. They're, those were turned either at different times or poorly turned. You would expect the heads to be the same thickness, to have the same, or at least close to the same relief there right underneath the head, and for them to pretty well match, and these really don't. So, and you look at the way the threads are on them, up the threads a little bit, they're a fairly sharp thing. Down towards the end, they've been beveled and flattened, and it's just those are not a real quality part that we're seeing there. So yeah, this is not craftsmanship at its finest for $15. I think if somebody would like to send me the length of those, because I don't have the length of how long those actually are, overall length, I would be more than happy to investigate those and see where those can be had for, I would speculate, probably less than $5 a piece, and I would guess closer to about $3. So yeah, if somebody's got the length of those, why, drop it in the comments below or email me directly, and we'll see if we can't track down a little better quality replacement for those for a little less money. I'm not going to go in and look at this. I think we looked at this before. Excellent original Atlas Craftsman 6-inch 6/18 lathe milling attachment, part number M6-501. $249 with 0 bids. $325 buy it now and $20 shipping. Nope. $200 in the door for a 6-inch lathe. That's all they're worth. And now we're basically down to stuff we've looked at before. Yeah, there's another item that I could look at, but I don't think there's any sense there. Now, the ones that intrigue me is the lathes. And a lot of times I will not look at the lathes that close because I don't care that much. I'm more interested in the mills and the shapers. But and there's some new listings here. Now here's a grease shaft cup. They want $15 and $5.50 shipping. This is a new listing because it's been relisted. This was just listed. I looked at this either last week or the week before. Just the cap, $15. No, I think that's too much. Anyway, we're going to move right on by. Atlas Craftsman 10-12-inch metal lathe countershaft hanger set screw, $4.95 and $5.60 shipping. These are a headless set screw, or a slotted head set screw, is all these are. It's all that is. This has been used and abused. It's going to be about a half thickness nut, and these were a bigger nut, so you almost have to turn your own for these probably. I don't think this is a good buy. I don't think it's way out of line, but you know you need 4 of these if you're running them on your counter shaft setup the way they're supposed to be run. So why would you need just one of them? You know, I mean, I suppose it's possibly you could, but these are yucky looking. You know, we may put this on the board, on our little whiteboard as a project down the road. And see, these were machine turned, and this is kind of the quality of what you saw on a lot of the Atlas parts. They were designed to be low cost, so no reason for a cult following on these. Anyway, that's just a little bit interesting. But go on down here. Now this is a new listing, and I just spotted this morning, or this just started. Atlas Craftsman 10-12-inch metal lathe headstock chip guard, pre-owned, $7.99 buy it now and $7.25 shipping. I don't recognize this at all, and this is from a seller that's got pretty good feedback, not a tremendous amount of feedback, but and he's a seller I recognize. This little guard, I'm guessing this is a shop-made guard to go. I don't know. I don't recognize this. Maybe I'm just being stupid today and don't recognize this at all, but I don't recognize this as anything as a factory part on a 10-inch lathe. So found that interesting. 10-12-inch, maybe it's something they put on a 12-inch. I don't do that much with the 12s. Original Atlas Craftsman 10-12-inch lathe cross-slide compound handle nut, part number 10D262, $4 and $6 shipping. This is a standard, same seller. This is a standard nut. There's nothing spectacular about this nut. You know, I believe these have a little bit shoulder, or a little bit wider hex on them than a standard nut does. So turn your own, you know, or to get by, and functionally, you can use a standard nut on these. Maybe a half nut fits better, but why would you give $4 and $6 shipping? Walk into your normal Ace Hardware store, your big box store, and get you a nut. There's some tool posts here. I talked about how I don't really believe in original tool posts. Got some gears, some of the stuff we've looked at. There's several listings here for that countershaft hanger set screw with the nut that they want, $4.95. It's all the same seller. He's selling these individually. Is what he's doing with these set screws. So, and there's some stuff that I recognize here that I've seen in the past, things like that. Most of this stuff I'm going to go away from. I'm going to ignore. There are a few things here though. Atlas Craftsman 10-12-inch lathe half split nut assembly, $9.12, $9.13 pre-owned, $50 or best offer and $10.75 shipping. Now, other than for replacements, I'm not a big fan of these. This is from a seller that I do not really recognize at all. He's got some feedback. It's 100% positive, but he doesn't have a tremendous amount of it. And I'm not, you know, a lot of times if I spot somebody like this, if I'm interested in them, I'll go in and I'll look at their profile and I'll see what they've been selling, and to give me an indication if they're deciding they're going to be playing the machine tools section and be parting out machines or what they're going to do. Um, since I'm not really in the market, I'm not interested. But if this is something you're looking for, looking at, go in and look at their profiles, look at what they're selling along with this machine tool part. See if it's just something they've come across, if they've parting out machines. But look at the pictures close. Now we're just going to look at the big pictures here. This is cleaned up pretty well. It looks like it's got some wear on it, but I've seen some that are a whole lot worse. And these are ones that, there again, if you're putting these used parts on, I think you're not doing yourself really any favors. Looks like there's some markings in here, where I believe it is used. I've seen stuff beat up a whole lot worse than this that they've wanted a whole lot more money for. But all in all, this looks okay. And there you can see it's pretty grungy there, so this has been used and it's been cleaned up quite a bit. So anyway, at least gives you an indication. But anyway, the price on that's $50 and $10.75 shipping. So we want to remember that for a few minutes. Right down below it, we've got a Atlas Craftsman middle-lathe countershaft main casting 10-20. They want $24.99, but they want $40.11 shipping for it. I think shipping's high. This is a seller that's been around quite a while. They're parting out machines. When I first saw this, I thought that's a fairly decent buy. All the shipping, I believe, is high. Shipping should be, I'm not sure if those will fit in a medium flat rate box. I believe they will. It might have to go to a large, which would make shipping about half of that. But anyway, let's just look at the big pictures. When you read the description, it says casting's been repaired. So it's been welded up. And it's right here. So as far as I'm concerned, it's had a weld repair on it. It's not worth that $25 I thought it was. You should have, in good condition, $50 in the door would be a fair price for this. But it's got a repair to it. So who knows? The old boys, and this has been repaired for a while, but the old boys that did these repairs, and this would have been arc welded, stick welded, with the appropriate rod, and the guys that knew how to do this and were good at it, that repair is probably a good repair. The only issue would be alignment and how much it's moved when it's happened. When you look at this hole looks like it's all blown out. So this is well worn anyway. But anyway, and there's a couple other things here that don't look real good. I would be concerned about alignment. Been repaired. As far as I'm concerned, it's worth $30 in the door. I would take a chance on it probably if I was looking for one of these. The stud's all wonky. It's been bent to crap. So like most of the parts we look at, this has seen better days. Originally this would have been a gray machine. But yeah, that repair, it's not worth that. It's not worth the $60 they want to get it in the door. Probably would have been worth it with a good solid casting, but not a repaired casting. Okay, and we're gonna skip a bunch of this stuff because I'm not that interested. Here's a speed drawbar, and for Morse taper number 1.5 8-tooth South Bend Atlas Logan lathe, General Die T80, pre-owned. They want $350 for this. It's a hand lever drawbar is what it is. This is from a seller that I have no respect for, that we'll talk about again here later. This was not originally an Atlas drawbar. This may be one of the original handles that fit, although this is not the original Atlas one. This is an aftermarket, grungy, grimy, rusty piece of shit. Going to take some modification to go on an Atlas. Let's see what the description reads. And there again, you want to read these close if you're doing this, because I think this is about 3 times too much money. I think it's worth about $100. Speed drawbar fits many of the number 3 Morse taper spindle lathes that has 1.5/8 common thread. This fits on almost all the small 9 through 12 inch Atlas lathes, all of the 1.5" 8 TPI 9 and 10 inch South Bend lathes, and several Logan models. This will fit onto an Atlas 101 10 and 12 inch with zero modification. For others, the arm and the back might need to be braced to the back of the lathe, which is a pretty simple fixture to create. Once I would have a dovetail, the other side would have a hole. Any aluminum block would work. It's easy. Anybody can do it. No, don't do this. Don't do this. This guy will tell you, and he wants 43 bucks shipping, so he wants 400 bucks for this. This guy will tell you anything to have you make the sale. This is not a bracket that I recognize as fitting on the Atlas at all. And I believe that's just a spacer spaced it up there, although that may be something they've set up as a mounting bracket. Maybe this would bolt right onto an Atlas, but I don't necessarily believe that it does, and it's worth $100. It's worth $100. There's some tail stocks here. I'm not going to take the time to stop and look at them. Here's that the green countershaft bracket. Here is the hanger that goes with it from the same seller. He wants $42.99 and $16.80 for shipping for it. Looks to be a good countershaft bracket. I didn't look at it that close. There's no repairs on it, so he's wanting $42, but he only wants $16.80 for shipping. You know, it's not too far out of line probably, but I don't know, you know. Used casting, it might be worth that. I'd say 50 bucks in the door would be a fair price for it. And it's in fine shape. You know, there's nothing at all wrong with it that I see. But I would say 50 bucks is closer to a realistic price. Now, here again, this is a seller. Sometimes got some good buys, and a lot of times they're just way out of line. So Atlas Craftsman 10-inch lathe steady rest pre-owned, $225 and $25 shipping. That's probably not too far out of line, although as I look at the picture here, why I don't see a clamp. And no hold down clamp. Where's the hold down clamp? This is from a seller that's got a fair amount of feedback. It's 100% feedback. You know, with the hold down clamp, 250 bucks, maybe. You know, it's tough now as I do more and more parts to say, yes, this is only worth this much, because when I look at my cost to produce some of these parts now, they're going a fair amount above what it is, which is why I don't try and turn out more parts than I do. You know, by the time I develop a pattern, get something cast, machined, even to the point of just getting a good casting, if I were to sell raw castings, cost is getting up there a fair amount. Now here, I've looked at this one before. I don't know if we've all looked at this, but this is an original Atlas Craftsman lathe micrometer cross slide stop, number 1510, new old stock. And that's not what this is at all. Brand new, $149.50 is where it's at now at 25 bids and $12.60 shipping. This is the carriage stop. It's not the cross slide stop, but it's coming with a cross slide stop box. So the box is wrong for this. This probably is a new old stock micrometer stop. These are worth about 80 bucks. You know, there again, I say that, you know, to produce these, why they're quite a bit more. I started doing a pattern for castings for these just to sell a kit, and there again, hasn't been a priority for me. But we'll probably get back on that at some point in time. This is a good looking stop, but not for 150 bucks. You know, they're not. 80 bucks, you know, for a brand new one like that. That's about all they're worth. See here again, lathe compound cross feed screw and brass nut, Atlas Craftsman Logan, South Bend. This one I don't believe that the seller even knew what it was. We looked at this before, or I looked at this before. I've got a pretty good idea of what this fits. I haven't gone back and checked for sure, but I think I do know. It's, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. If it came off of a machine, it's used. It's probably well used and abused, even though it's all cleaned up very nice and everything. Let's just look a little bit and see if it gives us any indication. It's a pretty good looking part. Now, I still will contend though, anytime you have a used part, especially parts like lead screws, nuts, anything that has a wear factor to it, they're not worth buying. You know, they're just literally not worth buying. If I needed one of these for a pattern to produce parts off of, it's worth 15 bucks in the door. You know, as far as to put on a machine and see this has been cleaned up. You can see the markings on this. You can see the crap down in below. This is worthless. You know, having just finished saying that everything has value, and it does have value. 15 bucks. Not worth any more than that. Not worth any more. And part of the problem too is when they go in and they clean these up, whether they've filed them abrasive, this almost looks like it's been wire brushed and stuff. You've removed material, so you've opened clearances up even more. You know, you can see a little bit of a roll of the brass nut there. They're not worth having. They're not worth having. Excellent original Atlas Craftsman 6618 lathe tailstock clamp and bolt assembly M6-7. And I'm not going to go and look at that. Look at this. Now this is from a seller that I've said before used to do really, really good. I've bought several things from him in the past. He was really fair, and I was very happy with my purchases. He's gotten here lately to where, as far as I'm concerned, his prices are way out of sight. This clamp and bolt assembly should be worth probably 15 bucks and $5 shipping. You know, it's worth probably less than half of what he's asking for. And I've noticed this over the last few weeks. He's just gotten way out of line on his prices. So, okay, there's I think just two other items we'll look at. That those half nut assemblies that we talked about. Here is a new old stock Atlas Craftsman 1012 101 metal lathe apron half nut, brand new, 160 bucks and $5 shipping. This is the same assembly we looked at that the seller wanted $50 for, I believe. And this is from the seller that I've been ragging on, that has, you know, we know the way he sells stuff, and I haven't seen anything that he's listed here today, and I haven't seen anything he's listed for a month that is a reasonable purchase. This guy is he's a piece of work here. New old stock Atlas Craftsman 10-12-inch 101 metal lathe apron half nuts. New old stock, purchased for a 101.07403, but never installed. That's a lie as far as I'm concerned. Let's look at the big pictures of this. And I think we can tell everything we need from the big pictures. This, why would this not be in a plastic packaging like it would have originally come from, or wrapped in something, for it to be this grungy and dirty and scuzzy and have markings where it slid in and out here on both half nuts in there. Cracked out there. Looks to be cracked out across there. Did it come with the original pin in it? I don't believe so. I think when you bought these as replacements, I think you bought the Zamac parts, the 3 Zamac parts. I believe that index pin is normally what you would find in the apron itself. These are ejector pin marks, but why is that one so shiny right there when the rest of it's so grungy around it, unless it had been mated up and it was bearing right there on the back side of the apron. There again, I believe that's a crack right across there. You can see a little bit more of the details when you go in and zoom on it, but I'm not going to take the time. I believe this has been run. I believe this has been run. And you look at this burring on this edge. I don't believe those are casting marks. I believe those are wear marks where it's worn against the lead screw and it's rolled that edge up. Looks like we're burred up here. Threads have pulled, started to pull a little bit above the surface, which could be from tapping it, but I would tend to believe that it's been installed. And yeah, I do not believe that's a new old stock part or a new part. So anyway, there's that one. Same seller. He wants 160 bucks. You could have bought something that was in a whole lot better shape than this for 50. Anyway, I think that's about all we've got here. Hopefully you can utilize that when you're looking for parts. You know, don't get excited about this stuff, because these guys are not doing you any favors here on Fleabay. You know, I've seen the same thing in the some other industries, and you know, some shows and some places where it originally started out as a group of guys trading their own stuff, selling stuff they were done with in their shop to be able to get something else or do something else. I've seen that go from there to commercialization, where guys are trying to get way overpriced stuff. They're selling junk and you know, trying to take advantage of newcomers to the hobby, to the sport, whatever the case may be. So this is not strictly happening in the Atlas machine tool world, but it is very pronounced here. Anyway, hopefully you find that a little bit useful. Comments, suggestions, leave them for me in the comments section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.